Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our friends, family, fellow tech giants, innovative minds, and you're welcome to another episode of Cinnamon and Fire. And here we aim to bring you real stories from bold builders in the African diaspora and in Africa and wherever they are in the world who are making waves in their respective fields. I am your humble host, DK Emmanuel Mermos, and I am today blessed to be in the presence of Mr. OluwaSeun Adeoye. Did I pronounce that well?
It's OluwaSeun Adeoye, actually.
Adeoye. Oh, where did the
Yes.
Olua come from? Sorry, Mr. OluwaSeun Adeoye. Thank you very much. You are welcome for joining us. Please do us a little intro about yourself, what you do, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you, DK, for having me. OluwaSeun Adeoye, as DK already mentioned, I've been in the digital space for over a decade, and I'm happy to share insights around my professional and personal experiences in both digital space and everything at life. Thank you, DK.
Thank
Over
you.
to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeoye. So, briefly, after going through a little bit of your biography and just a little bit of research around you, um, tell us a bit about some of the challenging API integrations you have led, and that's for providing payment solutions for clients. And what was the outcome? Like, how did you go about them?
Okay, so for me, I see challenges as stepping stones, and I really see everything as easy. One critical challenge was when re- in my early years in digital banking, and the API tools we used were pretty old. And for me, because what I did was to work hand in hand with my developers. And when as soon as we got to those APIs, pretty up to notch, we were able to engage customers. And what really was enjoyable in that span or in that time was that it was pretty easy for customers to consume the APIs. A challenge for me was that we had to use some older technologies. So we our APIs then were built as SOAP APIs as opposed to REST, which is pretty easy for customers. So it was challenging, but we're able to step customers through. And as soon as we're able to step customers through, they're able to move on and, of course, complete whatever they needed to do as regards payments in our digital space. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. So with 12 years or more in finance and digital banking, how have you seen customer expectations evolve locally and internationally? And how do you build products with features that kind of anticipate those changes rather than simply just react to them, you know?
Okay, so I'll also go draw back on my last experience. So, growing into the digital space, we had the SOAP API and we had to move to REST because at some point the SOAP API was pretty tedious for customers to consume, and a lot of customers started clamoring for REST APIs. And when we looked at international standards, also we realized that a lot of people prefer REST to the SOAP APIs. We didn't drop the SOAP APIs because, of course, building something new from SOAP to REST was not so tedious on. But of course, you also know that there's priority in every in any organization. So that wasn't the main focus for the organization. But we had to, of course, move some of the services to REST, and this helped both the existing customers and new customers pretty integrate simply. And the REST APIs, we saw people consuming the REST APIs. However, of course, when as a financial institution, for most financial institutions, what you would usually look at is convenience against security. And when you do not have a lot of security, because of course it was a new API, when you don't have a lot of security in place, you are skeptic about, okay, you want the service to work, But of course, you do not want customers to lose funds as a financial institution, because
Okay.
it erodes both the customer's brand and the brand as a whole. So looking at it globally, we had to migrate some services to REST, which helped us, and of course, making us meet also international standards.
Wow, cool. So just for those, for the benefit of those who might be viewing, who might just be getting introduced to tech space, can you help us explain a little bit briefly the difference between REST that you've been talking about? Like, what is the difference between both versions of the APIs that you have mentioned?
Okay, so the REST API is pretty simpler because it's JSON oriented. A lot of people prefer JSON because it is simple to consume and understand just by looking at the human. It's more like a simple language for humans to consume. And once you understand JSON, JSON is JavaScript oriented language. So once you understand that, it's easier for people to understand. And unlike the SOAP APIs that are XML driven, more codes for a single, more codes, more errors can be encountered. The rest is simpler, and of course you can wrap around it pretty easy in different programming languages.
Okay, thank you very much. So currently, you stated that you are pursuing a graduate certificate in cloud data management. How would you say that study has added to or influenced your designing on managed payment and banking systems? There.
Okay, so well, I actually have graduated now, and
Oh wow! Congratulations.
yes, thank you so much. Actually, I've graduated now. So if we look at the world at large, a lot of things are powered in the cloud. So
Right.
moving from the local or hybrid place, we are going to the cloud, and that's how I see cloud fashioning things now. So a lot of people move to the cloud. For financial institutions and some other institutions, they cannot necessarily take everything to the cloud because you still want some things to be on premises where you are able to. And of course, the cloud is internet based. You don't want to come on one day and you don't have internet service and you are not able to reach anything.
Access,
But
right.
where we see cloud going to is that most of the services that you would usually make payment or buy at once, you can usually go in and put in a subscription for it. So these services would be simpler to build. All this service like the REST and JSON that I mentioned, you probably would not even need to have technical know-how to do all these things because these services are already available in the cloud. You just go in, so it's more like a plug and play, and you're able to seamlessly effect payments and do your transactions quickly. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So another thing I noticed is that you said multitasking. You highlighted multitasking as one of like your superpowers. Can you walk us through your approach when you have, say, multiple high priority projects? How do you prioritize? How do you meet deadlines? How do you execute? And what's your workflow like?
Okay, so I think that everything you do starts from the mind, and complex tasks would usually be as easy as you approach it. So when I have complex tasks or tasks that people think would be difficult, I look at it in a visual manner, and for me it's really simple when it's visualized and you look at, okay, this task is or would need X resource, this task would need Y resource, and where resources are dependent, you know what to do. And what has really helped me is when I go into anything or when I look at anything, I look at key people. I don't look at, I try to pull out solutions from people. So multitasking for me is really easy because I look at the strengths of people and try to work with their strengths so that jobs or whatever tasks we need to do would be accomplished easily and seamlessly.
I really like the idea of approaching things visually, because most tasks are delivered with like briefs and writing. So sometimes if it's a whole bunch of writing and you look at it as something that is challenging and big, then it can affect your approach and how you break it down. So that's actually very, very cool. So I'm gonna skip a little bit to customer service and feedback, customer service and product feedback. Um, how do you collect and then act upon customer feedback in the payment and digital banking space? If you have any particular stories where a customer feedback led to a product change that had significant impact in whatever product that was, then you can go as well and you can go ahead and share that with us as well.
Oh, thank you, DK. So, how do you look at in any aspect of life, feedback is important, and especially looking in the product side, looking at your customers, hearing your customers is very key to the growth of both their business and your business. For one task or one key thing was, of course, whilst we moved to the REST API, customers. So we usually what we usually do is, okay, for our side as a financial institution, we engage our customers to know, okay, what have we done right? What are we doing wrong? What do you want us to improve on? For some customers, we even would even go sit with them, understand, oh, what do you intend to do, or where do you see yourself going to in the future? And based on all this feedbacks that we got from customers, we're able to understand customers' pain point and know that, oh, this is where this would make work easy for customers. That was also what informed us to quickly build some services on the REST API. So it really informed us. So customer feedback is critical in the growth of both brands. Actually, customer feedback is critical, and because what you are saying may not be what the customer, of course, is saying. You're looking at different, your visions are different, but overall is that to achieve the same goal or similar goals in the digital payment space, you have to follow, okay, the moving trend. And technology as a whole is vast changing. Constantly. So yes, constantly. So where you are not looking at, so I'll give an example of fintechs and the major financial. So where the core financial institutions may not be looking at, the fintechs would look, because reaching the last mile, the unbanked, is the aim of digital payments. And you throw ideas, you sit down together, you put ideas together, and you build new things. That's
Wow. So having worked in Nigeria and also worked for companies in the international markets, would you say there are key differences for maybe regulation, user behavior, infrastructure, things like that you have to design for? And now mostly everybody's designing their product with a global approach. So how do you integrate features that kind of allow the product to function properly in the global market and in Nigeria as well, or in Africa?
Okay, so I'll say having worked in Nigeria really gave good insights or broadened the experience. And you'll see that when you go abroad, some things are not as seamless as where we're coming from. The reason is, of course, because of probably the space, infrastructure, and of course, like you mentioned, regulation. So regulation is different across board, but there are still some similarities around regulations. An instance is like the instant payment that happens in Nigeria. Most countries abroad do not do instant payment.
Right.
We give it to Nigeria for, but they've also been able to design similar things because of the infrastructure that they have. So I'll give Canada for an example. Canada has an Interact service that they use, which is dependent on email addresses or mobile number, and they're able to curb this or curb instances of fraud or anything because, of course, an email is tied to a person, an individual. So, and that individual has like a number or like a national identity number. So once you are using that email, you know that, oh, it's tied to this particular person. So they're able to track because of the infrastructure that they put in place. At some point, I know that Nigeria also tried doing something like that, because I know NIBS tried to initiate or put something like that in place. But of course, because of the structure we have in Nigeria, it's not very easy to know, okay, this is this person. And you have, of course, a lot of people having several emails. And with that, you are not able to, regulation is not able to curb fraud. So we're looking at it, you see regulation in place. There are some similarities with regulation. There are vast differences also in regulation. But overall, I believe that the payment space and the payment industry is gradually moving, and they probably may have like a unified, because that's why we have cross-currency transactions today and cross-border transactions today. And with all this, I think that we can do better. We will do better. And going into the future, I know that payments and digital payments and currency would even be seamless as is. Yes.
So funny enough, your ending point kind of buttresses into my next question, which is where do you see electronic payments and digital banking over going, say, in the next 5 years in Africa and globally? And are there any emerging technologies or developments that you are currently excited about? And if yes, how do you plan to implement them in your work to make it easier? And
okay, so when we see where I see digital payments, and so it's pretty similar. So I'll probably start with the last piece of your question, where I see what is exciting. You see AI evolving, or the involvement of AI is really exciting, because it gives even the unknown person a face, which is because of the data that you can collect and can act on. AI is seamlessly preventing or coping a lot of things: fraud, credit scores, and other activities around AI. Even look at a lot of banks have implemented chatbots just to minimize and improve on customer efficiency. Yes, people may think that jobs may be lost. However, it gives humans the room to improve and see other aspects, because AI would probably not do a lot of things or a lot of other things. If you look at human behavior, of course, the AI will not be able to do that. So, looking at this place, you see that AI is trending, and of course, it is improving efficiency. I mentioned the credit score. People are able to get loans seamlessly, easily, without bias, and of course, this in turn would and is improving the digital payment space. And overall, it infuses everything. So imagine what fintechs have been clamoring for, which commercial banks may not be doing, which is zero transfer or zero transaction fees. A lot of fintechs are able to achieve this because they process payment faster and the volumes are there.
Right. Wow. Okay, so just to ease things up a little bit, what are some of your hobbies? What are some of your favorite pastimes? And Is there any particular thing new that you've recently explored that you feel has maybe changed your way of thinking about product or payments? So I guess my question is, are there any hobbies of yours that kind of translate to maybe improving your workflow, your work process?
Okay, so one hobby I love is singing. I love to sing,
Oh, wow.
and yes, the passion for me is to even, you know, whilst we were growing, music was part of the things that we learned. And if you see old movies, you kind of remember the song. So educating people with music or rhythm is one passion that I think that I have, and I haven't tried it, but of course, we in future we should see a product like that would help children learn, because I
Oh my
think
God.
yes, I think children learn with art and reading. So help children learn so that as they grow older, they get into it and they know what they want to be or what they want to do. So in the future, you'll see a product like that. And instances are like the roadblock. You see things like that. That education is infused in things, gamification, things that are simple, just so that people understand that it doesn't have to be just writing. Some other things can readily infuse, and you'd expect a product like that in the future, that
Wow.
using music to teach or pass knowledge across.
Wow. So we're actually on the same field for that one, because I myself, I am a musician. So in my childhood, like you said, so many things that my learning process or things that were hard for me was putting melody to it. Because anything that I could sing, I could remember. And I
Definitely.
feel like that is a space that musicians are playing with, especially for children, because once you can get them young, then you can keep them interested for a longer period of time. So that is actually very, very brilliant. Well, we have actually come to a conclusion of today's episode of Cinnamon&Fire. Mr. Olo, it's been very, very insightful, and it was a pleasure to have you here with us. For those of you watching at home, you remain Cinnamon&Fire. Thank you for keeping in touch with us. You can click the link in our bio and subscribe, share, tell a friend about it as well. And yeah, I think in ending notes, Mr. OluwaSeun, if there's anything you would like to add, maybe a motivational quote or just something. And also, please let the people know where they can keep in touch with you, maybe your LinkedIn or your socials, whichever one you're comfortable with.
Yes, so thank you, DK. And thank you for having me. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Final quotes is what I learned from one of my professors recently. I come to any place to improve. I do not come to prove anything. I am there to improve. So I will keep improving and I'll keep learning. I don't have to prove anything to anyone as long as I'm improving. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that clearly. Instead of trying to prove, improve. That's very, 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 very key. I like it. Thank you again. Thank you very much, Mr. OluwaSeun Adeoye, for joining us and sharing your insights. To those watching, like I said, we remain Cinnamon&Fire. As he said, you can follow him, check it out. Check him out on LinkedIn. OluwaSeun Adeoye, I'm guessing.
Yes, please.
All right. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing some of your products and even the learning through music for children. I think that's actually a very amazing initiative, and I look forward to that as well.
Thank you, DK. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.